Welcome to the Genogram instructions video. I've designed this video to help you understand a little bit more about this project and what you are to do in completing your genogram. In beginning your project, it's important to know that this assignment is like a family tree, but it will hold much more information than just a simple family tree normally would. It will be built similar to a family tree, but I'm going to walk you through the rules and what this should look like when you're finished. First and foremost, it must include all of your family members from your grandparents down. So it will include your grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, children, grandchildren, etc. You will need to collect information from other family members. The odds that you will have all of this information are very low, but you can identify a couple of family members who it's okay to ask questions to and who will answer these questions to try and gain as much information as you possibly can in order to fill this out. You must identify yourself in a special way so that when I look at your genogram or when someone else would be looking at it, then they can see where you are on there. And it needs to include first names of everyone and identifying years, like birth years, death, marriages, separations, divorce, abortion, miscarriage, etc. You need to track the family dynamics, like closeness between people, distance, hostility, cutoffs, etc. You need to include alcohol or drug issues, physical or mental health issues, and you should consider tracking things in your family that are important maybe only to your family, like education, religion, traveling, race and ethnicity if the family is multicultural, etc. You may use a computer program like Word, Publisher, or another program to draw your genogram. You may also hand draw it. If you hand draw it, it's very important for you to be neat. You need to use rulers and other tools that make sure that it looks great and that it can be easily read and understood. This movie is showing you the option to use Microsoft Word and their drawing tools. I will not teach you how to use these tools. You can have someone else show you if you don't already know, or you can choose to hand draw it. Again, it just must be very neat. Your genogram must have a key that shows what each of the symbols mean. I'll show you that at the end of this video, and you must save it as a Word, JPEG, or PDF document for submission in Blackboard. If you have questions, you should ask them rather than just guess. Feel free to email me or get in contact with me to let me know that you have questions. You can call or email, and it will take a while to do. You should have already started gathering the information, and you should get started drawing it during week 3. So I'm going to show you the basic drawing of a genogram family. I'm making this family up as I go along just so that we use a lot of the symbols so that you can see what they'll look like. So I'm going to start with the grandfather and grandmother. Very simple structure. Men are represented by squares, women by circles, and the line in between shows that they are married. In adding portions to this, you add the name of the person, generally right above, and the year of their birth. And you can see on the line that shows that they're married, there's also a small m with a period beside it and the date of marriage. Hank has also been X'd out because he died, and that is also indicated by his name, the year of his death. As you can see here, Hank and Susan had a son named John who was born in 1947. You can tell that John got married in 1977 to Sarah, but prior to that, he had a relationship with a woman named Julie, and that resulted in a miscarriage in 1965. Julie, after that relationship, began to live a homosexual lifestyle, which is indicated by the triangle within the circle. John and Sarah had a son, John Jr., born in 1981, who married Allison, who was born in 83. They moved in together in 2001 and were married in 2006, and their twin girls were born in 2001. You can also tell that the twins were not identical due to the lack of a bar between them, and you can see some of those other marks on the genogram information that's listed in your course resources section. In this next section, you can now see that there was a daughter, Bonnie, who was born to Hank and Susan in 1954. She's younger than John, so she goes further down the line. And she has had 3 relationships, one with a man named James, who was also born in 1954. And there was a baby boy born in 1969 who was adopted out. So you can tell by the dates that James and Bonnie were 15 when this baby was born. And the question mark indicates that there's no other information about that child. In 1982, Bonnie married Jim and divorced in 1988. During that time, they had Matt in 1984. The red square indicates that Matt is the subject who is drawing this genogram, or about whom the genogram is concerning. Matt married Christy in 2007, and they had a little boy named Sam, born in 2009. Bonnie and Jim divorced in 88. She remarried Alan in 1991, and they had a son in 94 named Jason, who committed suicide in 2000, so he was 16. Now the shading and the other lines here indicate mental health, physical health, or drug and alcohol problems. The bars midsection with the lower half of the circle or square shaded indicates a drug or alcohol problem. The vertical line, as seen in Bonnie's circle, with the right side shaded, indicates a mental health or a physical health issue. What this starts to allow us to do is see patterns in the family. You can see that Bonnie's brother had drug and alcohol problems. Her second husband had drug or alcohol problems. Her nephew had drug and alcohol problems, and so did her son. You can also see that in 2000, Jason committed suicide, and Alan and Bonnie divorced in 2001. In this section, you can see the 3rd child to Susan and Hank have been added. Rachel was born in 1958, and you can see that I've dropped her down lower than the other children to make room for her family. You can see how I've done this. It still looks neat, even though it's beginning to look crowded. You can still tell who everybody is and who they're attached to. So it's okay to be creative with how you structure this to make plenty of room on your paper for them, but making sure that it's very clear who people are and where they go on the genogram. So we've dropped Rachel down, and you can see 4 relationships here, and it's very important for this to be chronological. So you can see that her first, second, and third husband, and then her 4th relationship are in order as they would have been chronologically. Same goes for John, Bonnie, and Rachel. The children are all in chronological order as well, and their children should all be underneath as well. It makes it very easy to look at the genogram briefly and understand what you're looking at, where people are in reference to each other. So here you can see that Rachel, like her sister Bonnie, has some mental health problems. And her first husband, Jack, also had some mental health problems. They had 3 children together. They were married in 78 and had Tanya, Silas, and Jake, born in 80, 81, and 83. Now Silas, you can see that his bar looks a little bit different from everyone else's. That indicates an adoption. And each of the double slash lines indicate divorces in all of these situations. So Jack and Rachel divorced in 2002. She remarried John in 2002. That's the type of thing that probably indicates an affair, maybe, or either having married very quickly afterwards. That would be the type of thing that would come up in your paper as you were describing. John had drug and/or alcohol problems. She divorced him in 2005 and married Stephen in 2006, also had drug and alcohol problems. You can see that she married and divorced Stephen in 2006. Now, in 2012, she moved in with another man named Stephen. So sometimes you may have double names on here, and that's fine as long as it's indicated. You can tell these 2 people are different because Stephen, the husband, was born in 58, but her live-in relationship was born in 1980. These are the types of things that you can also tell. She has moved in with a younger man who is the same age as her older daughter. So we can only imagine what types of situation that could cause within this family. Continuing with Rachel's children, we can see that Tanya married Tyler in 2003. They're the same age and they have two daughters, Olivia and Zoe, born in 2005 and 2008. Can also see that Silas is unmarried and does not have any relationships or children, and that Jake has never been married but has 3 children with 3 different women as well as an abortion. So Jake and Whitney had a child in 2000. Again, you can tell by their ages that they were 16 and 17 when that child was born. That child is Erin. She would be 13 now, and you can tell that she already has some issues with drugs and alcohol. They had a second pregnancy in 2001, the year after Erin was born, and they terminated the pregnancy. In 2008, Jake had 2 children, Mia and JC, with Mallory and Samantha. So 2 different mothers, 2 different daughters, born in the same year. And he and Samantha have been living together since 2011. So you can see how even though these are complicated relationships and maybe not everybody's families are going to look just like this, if you build your genogram correctly, you're telling the story of your family just with symbols and with pictures. Now it's time for the addition of other symbols that indicate relationships between the families. You'll see the key in just a moment that shows what all of these mean. But I've added some orange dotted lines between people who have a lot of hostility between them. So you can see that Tanya and her mother Rachel are hostile towards one another. You can guess why that is, of course, as you look and see that mom's live-in boyfriend is the same age as she is. The arrows to Rachel and Tanya indicate sexual abuse for both of them. So Rachel was sexually abused at some point in her life, and so was Tanya, as well as Bonnie. In the event that you would know who the sexual perpetrator was, let's say they had an aunt whose husband or live-in boyfriend molested the girls, you might even write that out to the side of the arrows if you know who the perpetrator of the abuse was, especially if it's within the family, because it shows you something about family dynamics. You can see that Alan and Bonnie are hostile towards one another, which would be understandable in the event of a tragedy like a child committing suicide. You can also see that Mallory and Samantha at the bottom, the mothers of Jake's 2 youngest children, have a lot of hostility between them. Now, understanding that their daughters were born in the same year, that might indicate a reason for that. But again, more detail could go into the paper that you're going to be writing. There are also some double purple lines that show close relationships. So you can see that Sarah and Allison are both close to one another. Now, both of them having husbands with addictive behaviors, that could be closeness due to the fact that they've gone through the same thing. If John and John Jr. happen to be in remission, it may be that they've been through the same things and that Sarah has helped Allison along, those types of things. But again, those types of details would come out in the paper. You can also see a close relationship between Matt and Christy, Matt, the subject of our genogram, and they are in a dotted green circle, which I use to indicate that they were separate from the rest of their family. You can see that there's a lot of dysfunction in this family, and frequently you might have a family member or two who, let's say there's not a lot of education in this family, and Matt has gone back to college to pursue a degree. And so because of that, it's caused some tension between the family. So he and Christy and Sam are pretty separate from the family due to the fact that there's not a whole lot in common and they don't live the same lifestyle as the rest of the family does. This is an example of what your key should look like once you're finished with the genogram. Everything that you use on your genogram to indicate something should be given in your key to help the reader understand what it means. So you can see that a square indicates a male, a circle indicates a female, and so on and so on. Even the smaller green dotted circle that indicates the group is disassociated from the rest of the family, The arrow is sexual abuse. An X indicates an abortion. All of those things need to be in your key so that anyone reading it could understand what the symbols mean. I am not going to be really harsh on what symbols you use. It just has to be consistent over the course of your whole genogram, and it has to be in your key. If I can understand it, then you will be fine. I hope this video has given you some good information about how to proceed with your genogram. And again, as you walk through this and you have questions, please don't hesitate to contact me and we'll work on this together.